Hello, hello, and welcome to this channel, Highly Sensitive Wisdom. My name is Susanna, and today's topic is what to do when everything is chaotic around you and inside you. So, yeah, I have promised you this video a few videos ago in the context of, the very challenging experiences I had living in France. As you may know, I lived there for 7 years. That was planned to stay that long, but yeah, that's the time it took for me to learn all of the life lessons that I had to learn there. And I have, shared quite open-heartedly some of the experiences, both how I arrived there, what motivated me to move there, and I will not go over those things again today. I will link to those videos in the description below. But the purpose of today's video is to share how to get out of the storm when you're trapped in a storm that just goes on and on, in my case, for years. And I know that this content is valuable because we live in a world that is more and more chaotic. So many things going on in the world, so many places of conflict, and so much noise, in the world, and everything is accelerating. Things are quite turbulent in the world. So many people are stressed out. So many people feel afraid. So many people just, yeah, they don't really know how to, how to approach all that. So the purpose of today's video is that I will share some of the things that I did to, get me out of the storm and back to serenity and back to a place for, rest and recovery and gain some clarity and perspective also on what happened and, to move forward with my life. So I hope that this content will be very useful for people who are also trapped in very chaotic environments or so forth, or, even in the world, because we're all part of the world. So even yeah, we don't belong to this world, but we are still in this world. We still have to navigate this world and all of the challenges in this world, and we still have to yeah remain focused, on our mission, on our path to move forward, right? So if you enjoy this content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and also leave your aha moments in the comment section so that we can inspire and uplift each other. I really love it when you share your aha moments, your thoughts, or your, yeah, whatever resonated with you or whatever this content um, awoke in you, right? So that we can, we can share and inspire each other, all right? So thank you in advance for your participation. All right, so I will refer to a few different videos that I have already recorded, just for you to get a sense of just how chaotic everything was for me when I was living in France. So I have recorded a previous video about some of the symptoms that my subconscious mind was creating as symbols and alerts, warning signs for me to wake up spiritually and realize what was going on under the surface. That video is called Your Physical Symptoms Could in Reality Be Spiritual Symptoms. I'll drop the link to that video below. I've also recorded another video on mirrors. How there are different levels of mirrors that show you who you are and who you are not. So in that video, I mentioned our own body, I mentioned feedback from other people around us, and also the universe acting as a mirror, reflecting back to us what's inside us. And here's a twist to that. The universe reflects back not only what's inside us, but also what's inside people around us, because we interact so much with other people based on surface level interaction and what we perceive on the surface, and so many things are going on under the surface, inside people. So the universe can also reflect to us in the external world, producing problems as symptoms, or different situations or conflicts or problems or just things as warning signs, also to alert us about something's going on inside someone else who is close to us. So that video is called Three Kinds of Mirrors That Show You Who You Are and Who You Are Not. I will drop that a link in the description below. Yeah, I've also talked about how to heal from burnout. I will drop the link to that video below, because yeah, I was also burnt out in France. And you would think that it's not something, chaotic, because you're just depleted. But yeah, that's quite chaotic also, because you just feel stuck, and you don't really know what to do to get out of that situation. So you just feel trapped, just feel stuck, and you just like, what am I supposed to do here? So those are a few of the videos you could watch if you want more context. Oh yeah, and also the video, the deception of perception, on how, yeah, I'll drop the link to that video below, on how we perceive people maybe in a deceptive way, which makes us make decisions or have behaviors or make choices around person or people do not have our best interest at heart, or who are not who they pretend to be, or just who will just be a distraction or a weight for us, or who will betray us in some way. And so that can also create chaos for us. I'll drop the link to that video below, and also the video on labels. So don't be fooled by labels. So I'll drop the link to that video below. And with those references, I trust that you have enough material, enough content, enough context to fully understand the context of today's video. So today's video has to do with all of those things in those previous videos that I already recorded, right? So yeah, I will not talk in a great extent today of what I have been through, because I already shared that in previous videos that I refer to. Just the key here that I want to just you to understand for today's topic to be relevant, right, is that I was just, on the one hand, I was stuck, and I believe that was due to burnout, but that turned out to not be at all the root cause of that problem. Even though I also had to deal with that, but also with all of the symptoms I had in my physical body and also on a mental level. I mean, I also had other symptoms that I maybe haven't spoken a lot about, but like panic attacks and stuff, insomnia and stuff. So there were symptoms both on a physical level, on a mental level, and everything in France, in Paris, was so chaotic because, there are so many problems going on, and problems started appearing from day one. I have never experienced so many problems in such a short amount of time, any time, any period of time in my life prior to that, and I reached the conclusion that our minds are the creators of those problems. So what we hold in our consciousness, and that is established also, by researchers, serious advanced researchers such as Dr. David R. Hawkins, who wrote the excellent masterpiece Power versus Force, among other masterpieces that he has written and published. So it established that what we hold in our consciousness manifests in our external world, in our physical environment. But only when I got to observe that and witness that and experience that firsthand, living in France and working in Paris, I could understand on a very deep level how that actually works in a real life setting, not just from reading the book, but also from understanding from first-hand experiences and observations, conscious, systematic observations over a period of time of 7 years, right? So I could understand that what we hold in our consciousness, and especially in our minds, even though our body also contains consciousness, obviously, in all our different cells, but especially what we hold in our mind, that will manifest in our physical environment, our external environments, and that's also how the universe works as a mirror, acts as a mirror, showing us what's going on inside us, as within, so without. So there were multiple levels of chaoticness, if I can put it that way. That's probably not even a word, I just made it up, chaoticness. But yeah, there are different levels of chaoticness, both within myself and in the environment that I was immersed in. And add to that, there was a global worldwide pandemic, COVID, and I went through 3 lockdowns in Paris, and we're in France, and all I wanted was just to return to my country of birth, Sweden, where I now live since 3 years back. And now things are truly calm and serene and peaceful for me. Thank goodness. Thank you, God, for bringing me back to peace and serenity. But yeah, so it is possible to get out of the storm. It is possible to get out of all of the turbulence and, create something much more peaceful for yourself. And that is the point of today's video. So with this introduction, without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing you need to do, if you know, whatever your circumstances are, I don't know you personally, maybe you, dear watcher, but yeah, you can probably relate to some of the things, at least I am sharing in this video. So for me, living in France was represented, pressure cooker for my consciousness. And I understood early on that I am exposed to this not as a punishment, not as, well, in part from making bad decisions, as it has been said. Bad decisions lead to great stories. But yeah, it was not only about me. And that's the point. I understood early on that I am exposed to this because I need to learn something important here and I need to share it with the world. So, life with a capital L is showing these things to me, and not only for my own sake, but also so that I can share and bring clarity to other people, once I manage to get out of that turbulence and all of that chaoticness, chaos. So the first thing you need to do is to realize that most things that you're exposed to, they may seem important on the surface, but that's just surface level. Most things are just noise. What I mean by that, maybe you're in a work environment and you work really hard to have a good, to come across as a certain, kind of person, or, have a certain reputation, a certain perception, and you work really hard for that. But most of the opinions from other people, that's just noise. Doesn't really add anything to your life. That's not really important. So people's opinions, yeah, they don't usually carry much weight. And here's the paradox: the more ignorant someone is, the more opinions they have, and the louder they voice those opinions. You will notice that people who are very knowledgeable and wise people, or investigators, for instance, they are very cautious in voicing their opinions. And when they do voice an opinion, they always back it up with evidence, such as research, or whatever evidence they use, but they always back it up with something. That's not the case for most people. Most people just voice their opinions because it's just a matter of, I don't know, make themselves heard, you know, just like saying, hey, remember I exist, remember I exist, here I am, hello. But yeah, most opinions don't add anything of value, unless those are expert opinions, right? So yeah, most opinions you can just dismiss as noise, and that's the first step from um, getting out of the storm. Because as long as you're caught up in that, as long as you're caught up in all the negativity, for instance, in a toxic work environment, or in an abusive close relationship, or friendships with people who are not friends at all, as I shared in the previous video, don't be fooled by labels. So as long as you're caught up in that negativity, whether it's gossip, or whether it's betrayal, whether it's a lot of yeah, just opinions and noise, all the noise, you just have to realize that's not important. That's just noise. Just let it, uh, you know, yeah, it enters here, goes out there, just let it disappear from you, don't give any attention or any importance to that, because also where your attention goes, energy flows. So don't give a lot of attention to that. You have to shift your focus. So, and here's also an important principle, that when you focus on something, you give that something your life energy. And that's very known for people who use manifestation techniques according to the law of attraction. They know this, and I have also been teaching the law of attraction in online workshops. So when you focus on something, that means that you give your life energy to that something. So your mind acts as a magnifying glass that will, magnify whatever you're focusing on. So therefore, it's super important what we focus on. So if we focus on those things like opinions, gossip, just noise from people around you, and just noise from the world, then you are giving your life energy to that, which means that you are weakening your own manifestation power to manifest another reality for yourself. So if you're caught up in a lot of chaos, a lot of turbulence and storm, in life, it will not get better by you focusing on that. So you have to shift your focus away from the noise, away from the problems, because as long as and this is something I had to learn really the hard way in France, the more you focus on problems, the more problems you'll have to solve. So you have to shift your focus away from that, away from the noise, away from the problems, away from all of the super urgent things that you have to deal with that seem super, 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 super urgent, but that in reality are just activating your nervous system to get into fight-flight mode. And as you may know, what initially was called fight-flight mode, that is no longer just fight or flight. Now it is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And those are all survival, stress responses from our nervous system. So fight is quite straightforward. We have a threat, and you take fight with it. or with a person. Flight, yeah, you run away from it. You try to escape from whatever is bothering you. Freeze is you play dead, like in nature. If there are animals who are predators and they are chasing a prey and they want to kill that prey to eat it, then that prey just drops dead, so to speak, and just freeze, pretends to be dead, so that the perpetrator, I mean the predator, will lose interest and just leave them alone, you know. So that's also a stress response. Like sometimes we are really stressed out. It's really turbulent. You don't know what to do. You just freeze and you cannot do anything. You know, just you just stop whatever you're doing. You just freeze, and that will also not help you get out of that situation in a sustainable way, right? And then you have fun, and that's when people are extremely people pleasing. So more or less the logic here is like, oh, please don't leave me to die on my own, you know, bring me with you, more or less, so that people will cling to you in a very codependent way, in a very people pleasing way. And maybe you believe they are genuine, maybe you believe these are people you can trust in and count on, and in reality they are just acting out on their their survival instinct, their stress response, by fun, by clinging to you. And that also you need to recognize for what it is, so that you don't let yourself be dragged down by people who don't add absolutely anything in your life, because that will also keep you stuck in dysfunction, right? So you need to be able to identify these different things and see them for what they are. So really what we need to do, we need to, in essence, in short, what we need to do to get out of that chaos is that we have to go to the essence of things. We have to cut out all of the noise. We have to start ignoring the problems and just let them be, and not be bothered by them anymore, and not run after all of the different um, urgencies that we believe we have to take care of. Many things will work themselves out by themselves, and many things are not even our responsibility. So sometimes we think something is urgent and we have to deal with it, when in reality it's someone else's responsibility. And by just leaving it alone and just letting it be, and just not giving your life energy to it by focusing on it anymore, you'll see that many urgencies or many problems will be solved by someone else who will deal with it, when in reality you didn't have to. So, so go to the essence, cut off the noise, stop focusing on problems, and go inwards. So what you need to do also is to surrender, because there are situations that require you to take action for something to happen. But there are also situations where your action can also either make the situation worse, or make a dysfunctional situation or a chaotic situation that is just dragging you down, that starts draining you. That situation can go on longer than it has to, because you're taking action, and that benefits people who don't have your best interests at heart, and then they will manipulate you into keep taking action because they want you to be there, for them, which is what happened in my relationship with my ex-boyfriend who's French. So if you're a very active person like I am, you also sometimes need to realize that, yeah, not any action will help you move forward. Some actions will actually make you stuck and keep you stuck even more, because the people around you benefit from you taking action, when in reality you just need to cut all ties and just be on your own, right? So you need to focus, you need to surrender in those cases, and just surrender to a higher power, and just be okay with not doing things, and be okay with just leaving things to work themselves out. You don't have to be responsible for everything. So go inwards. That's where your power lies. So I can very clearly see how life with a capital L guided me over the years in France. For me to, life with a capital L was giving me the exact roadmap to what I needed to do in my life, to make that shift and empower me, so that I could, on my own, leave France, return to my country of birth, Sweden, without any external help, without any external, input of resources or so forth, just me and God, and I managed to do that because I was very attentive also to my intuition and letting myself be guided. All right, so I will, share in this video the exact steps that life with a capital L showed me that I needed to take. And I, initially I was clueless what was going on. I was clueless what to do about it. And since I have this inner drive, this inner, I'm very self-motivated. I have a very high intrinsic motivation in life, as you may have noticed in previous videos also. Um, so so my initial reaction will usually be to take action, but I had to learn the very hard way in France that taking action was actually backfiring on me, and that I needed to learn to just be still and go inwards instead. So when the more chaotic everything is around you, the more you need to learn to be still and go inwards. And that seems counterintuitive, right? You think that, oh, you have to put out all of these different fires. There's so many urgencies that require your attention, or there are people, that you believe to be friends or partners in whatever capacity, and you believe that your help for them is required, and in reality they are just they're just using you, and you're sabotaging things for yourself by helping them instead of giving priority to yourself. So you also need to stop listening to this narrative that, oh, you're selfish if you give attention to yourself. No, that is not selfish at all. You have to give to yourself first, and you have to take care of yourself first. No one else can do that for you. And what you need to realize also is that the exact people who accuse you of being selfish or egoistic are usually the people who want something from you. And then you may ask, like, yeah, okay, you want this from me, but what are you doing for me? Our relationship has to, be based on reciprocity, or it's not a relationship at all. It's just a one-way street. So when people accuse you of being selfish for not doing their will, not doing what they want you to do, just be mindful that, yeah, where does that narrative come from? Usually it comes from them being selfish, wanting you to do something for them. So they are the ones being selfish, projecting that onto you with their narrative, accusing you of being selfish. You don't fall into that trap of thinking that you are being selfish when you are just, preserving yourself, which is absolutely necessary to stay alive and to thrive, right? So also don't fall into that trap when people accuse you of being selfish. Yeah, who is being selfish really? Usually it's a person putting that demand upon you and not seeing that maybe you need some help, but they still want you to do things for them. So they are the ones being selfish, and they just project it onto you. So don't run after all of the different demands put on you, right? You learn to be still. And so that's what I needed to learn. I needed to surrender both to a higher power, and you realize that I cannot do it on my own as a human, because as humans we are limited. That I needed help from God, to guide me and to give me this stillness in the middle of the storm, right? Which I also did. I prayed on many occasions, and I have also given testimonial on this, in different videos. I just said a very short but very powerful prayer: God, give me strength. And then what happened each time was that within a matter of a second or two, I immediately felt an immense peace coming over me. And now I have my chills again. I immediately felt an immense peace coming over me and filling me up on the inside also. That clearly does not come from this world. That clearly comes from, a higher realm of reality, and just filling me with this peace, which was also confirmation that I was on the right path, right? So we need to surrender both to this higher power and let ourselves be guided, but we also need to surrender our, maybe we have like a desire to control things. We want to control the outcome of things, or we want to be in control of the situation. We want to be in control of what is going on. And so many things are outside of our control. And when we realize that, yeah, it doesn't really help that I am running faster or working harder or helping more people or, investing more into my relationships, that just keeps me stuck even more. Then just surrender your need for control. All right. I used to be a perfectionist. I used to want to have everything in control. But I realized with all this experience in France that no, most of the things I tried to be in control of were quite irrelevant anyway. So I had to really focus on the essential of life, which comes down, it boils down to two things: the essentials of life. One, your relationship with God. And I do record another video on that. It's called Deepen Your Relationship with God and Receive Your Blessings. I'll drop the link to that video in the description below. yeah, so essentials of life, your relationship with God and your relationship with yourself. Those are the most essential things that you have in this lifetime on planet Earth. So you need to focus on those and just cut, cut out all the noise around you because everything else is just temporary, Your relationship with God and your relationship with yourself, those two things are the only things that will last for many decades. In the case with yourself, but with God for an eternity, So those really have to do to be your priorities, Let's focus on those. So yeah, I did promise you to show you, the exact roadmap that life, the capital L, gave to me, both by giving me symptoms such as fatigue, eye fatigue, that forced me to close my eyes and go inwards to start meditating. So my symptoms were both working as warning signs and alerts to wake me up to the reality that I could not yet see for myself. But also they showed me, they guided me away from what was harming me, which was mostly my then boyfriend in France, and and also, the toxic work environment I was immersed in at the time. So those symptoms were created by my subconscious to wake me up spiritually and to help me see things I could not yet see for myself, but also to keep me away from the people who were harming me, but also to guide me on what to do instead. So the intense eye fatigue that forced me to close my eyes many hours in a row, because it was so painful just to have my eyes open at all, that taught me to meditate, which was the first step, my empowerment and my way out of that toxicity, right? So the first step was the meditation, starting to meditate. Then I started, using affirmations to start reprogramming my subconscious mind. That was before I learned about the belief code, and now as a certified practitioner of the belief code, with many, many, many success stories also from clients, and also record the videos, you can learn more about subconscious reprogramming. For instance, the video where I interviewed my very dear and very committed client Yanis. It's called. Let's see, what's the name of that video? Yeah, well, you get some inside information on what's like, to do energy work. I will drop the link to that video below. We also did a demo session together, Janis and I, on the belief code, an actual session hands-on energy treatment. I'll drop the link to that video in the description below. I will also, I have also recorded another video, Discover Subconscious Reprogramming, you can watch. I will drop the link to that video in the description below. So you can watch those if you want more information on subconscious reprogramming. Right, so I started with affirmations that are a more basic form of subconscious reprogramming, more basic and slower. So the belief code is much more efficient, much more effective. But yeah, I started with meditations and affirmations. Then God activated a very massive spiritual awakening in me. So things got very much more intense, and it felt even more chaotic. And yeah, I had no idea what to do about it. So here's what I did, and what turned out to be very helpful. So I moved to be close to nature. So I lived close to the Fontainebleau forest, which is the largest forest in France. That meant, far to be more far away from my workplace. But so I had to commute 3 hours a day to work, which gave me longer work days. But then I had the weekend to recharge my batteries in the forest, which led to more overall energy and more overall peace and more overall capacity for dealing with those difficulties, right? So that turned out to be a really good thing to do, even though on the surface level it would seem counterintuitive or counterproductive because my work days were so much longer because I had to commute 3 hours a day. But yeah, overall that helped me immensely to remain, somewhat calm, somewhat, grounded, through nature. So that was super important. Something else I recommend you to do, dear watcher, to have to immerse yourself in nature, at least every weekend, more often if you can, of course. So yeah, meditation, affirmations, being close to nature, and then yeah, I started doing energy work. With a certified practitioner, and yeah, with great results, which is what led me to becoming a certified practitioner myself, to help others and to help spread ripples on the water, so to speak. Because yeah, the results I experienced were like just wow, just mind blowing, you know. So yeah, and then eventually I managed to move back to Sweden, my country of birth, and that was also, you know, leap of faith. So when you have already done everything that is in your power, and you really don't know what else to do, at some point you just have to surrender and say like, you know, God, your will be done. You know, I leave this in your hands. You surrender and you just take a leap of faith. Of course, you don't have to just abandon everything. Like, for instance, when I moved back to Sweden, I had already been through 3 lockdowns because of COVID, and there were rumors that another lockdown could happen at any time. And those rumors were quite convincing because the 3 lockdowns I had been through had happened, you know, with less than 24 hours of notice from the French government before they were implemented, right? So I knew that at any given point I could potentially be trapped again in a lockdown, and then I couldn't make such a significant move as moving from one country to another, and you know, leave my the house I was living in, leaving, you know, my employment, leaving the points of feeling safe, you know. I couldn't leave all of that just to chance, you know. So I still had to be strategic. I still had to move back to Sweden in a few different points in time. I didn't make just one move. That would have been too risky. I went several times, you know, back and forth between France and Sweden and moving in, you know, phasing it out over a few months actually to move. But yeah, still the move was a leap of faith, just as it had been a leap of faith to move closer to nature, even though that meant longer work days. That was also a leap of faith. So sometimes when everything is chaotic, much of the chaos is created on purpose in the Matrix. And I also recorded another video on decoding the Matrix in real life. I will drop the link to that video in the description below. So much of the chaos is actually created on purpose in the Matrix to keep us stuck, to keep us small, to keep us stressed out, to keep us spinning our wheels in the hamster wheel. And I also recorded a video on how to get out from the hamster wheel. I'll drop the link to that video in the description below. Yeah, so much of the chaos is created on purpose to have us spinning our wheels without getting anywhere. Having us being stressed out and developing a lot of, you know, symptoms from our subconscious minds to alert us, but that we think of as disease or illness, or we believe something is wrong with us, and then we just try to receive some help to get rid of the symptoms, not realizing that symptoms are also in reality warning signs trying to warn us about something deeper, and that what we need to address is the deeper root cause for those symptoms. The symptoms are not the problem. The deeper root cause, that's what we need to focus on and deal with, right? But we are conditioned otherwise in Western contemporary societies, which makes this world a very, very difficult world to live in because there are so many lies and so many partial truths, you know, around, you know, everywhere. So yeah, so we have to focus on the essentials. We have to go inwards. We have to, you know, surrender both our need for control. We need to surrender to a higher power and realize that we cannot do it alone. And we also need to, at some point, take a leap of faith. So sometimes what you need to do is just changing the physical environment. But sometimes what you need to do is go inwards and change something inside yourself. And sometimes you need to do both. So, for instance, and I've shared this also in a previous video, that when I moved to France, you know, problems started appearing from day one. So I was quite panicked after a year in France and tried to move back to Sweden already after a year and without success. And so I had to return to France with an open mind, say, okay, I'm here to learn something important. You know, there are important life lessons I need to learn here. There's something I need to see here, or, you know, something that I am not realizing right now, but something that will be revealed to me here in this particular country. So I will stay as long as it takes for me to learn these things. And, you know, that's the mindset I went back with to France after that failed attempt to move back to Sweden after a year. And indeed, that's what happened. I had to see a lot of things that I have shared in all of these videos that I have been referencing and putting in the description below, you know, the links if you want to watch those also. So I needed to learn a lot of things. I needed to be exposed to certain things like the Matrix and how to decode it. That France was the perfect scenario for me to see these things, be exposed to these things, and learn these things. And I also needed to do a lot of inner work. because prior to that, things had been, life had been flowing more or less, well, prior to that. So I didn't have the motivation to go that deep inside myself until things got really chaotic in France. So that was also something I needed to do. But until I reached that point, like point of no return, you cannot move in any direction because you're stuck on all sides. You can only go inwards. That's the only way forward. That's to go inwards. That's what I had to learn. And that's how doors started opening for me. And so then when I tried to move back to Sweden again, a few years later, then I, with a leap of faith, then I did manage indeed to move back and to create a life for myself and a lifestyle that is much more aligned with who I am as a highly sensitive person, much more aligned with what I want to create for myself in the future. And, just so peaceful now, and truly it's when I arrived to France, that just seemed surrealistic how things could be so chaotic and so many problems all the time. And now that I am back in a peaceful lifestyle, peaceful surroundings, and I speak about these things, you know, at times it feels like, yeah, almost as though I were speaking about someone else having those experiences and not myself, because those memories start to feel quite, far away now, which is great. It's a great sign, that I'm making so much progress. And that's what I want for you also, dear watcher, to know that following these steps, following this roadmap that I have showed you in this video, that yeah, the storm will not last forever as long as you take action, but the right kind of action, not just any action, and definitely not taking action just to, put out fires or try to solve problems or try to please everyone around you, because that will not solve your situation. You need to be more radical. So you need to go to the essence of things. You need to cut out the noise, and you also have to go inwards, do your inner work, and you also need to surrender in some areas of your life where you need to surrender. And then when you have done all these things, then you need to take a leap of faith to move forward in big ways. All right. So yeah, know that the storm will not last forever as long as you are willing to also, both surrender, which sometimes is the most difficult part. Sometimes taking action is the easy part because we're so conditioned in being in doing mode all the time. We're so conditioned to do things, do things, do things, do things all the time, all the time, all the time. Sometimes what scares us most is to surrender and be still, because no one has taught us how to do that. So yeah, in some cases you need to surrender and be still. In some cases you need to take action, but inspired action, in action that will, actually move you forward, and not just keep you stuck in dysfunction with dysfunctional people who do not have your best interest at heart, right? So yeah, I hope that this has been, empowering, eye-opening, and that you will feel inspired, dear watcher, to take action in the right direction and not just to put out fires, right? So that even if everything's chaotic both around you and inside you, which was my case in France, and yeah, it almost feels realistic to speak about it now because my situation has shifted like day and night. I feel like an entirely different person now, compared to when I was living in France. And that's how powerful it is to make these inner shifts and do the inner work, and yeah, to surrender. That's also a very powerful, spiritual practice, to surrender, right? So, dear watcher, yeah, remember to surrender more often. We can save ourselves from a lot of struggles and problems by surrendering more often, right? And to hand things over to Lord Almighty. So, dear watcher, I will wrap up this video for today, and take care of yourself, keep learning, and I will see you again in another video. Bye for now.